Hey everyone, it's Mike from Air Raid Attack Podcast. Let me talk to you for just 1 minute. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain to you in 5 simple steps. Number 1, it's free. Number 2, there is creation tools that will allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Number 3, Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. Number 4, you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. Number 5, it's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So, how do you sign up? It's simple. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Enjoy the show. Well, we are back again, and if you've obviously followed us on Twitter, you may have found out and read the news over the week that the Air Raid Attack podcast is no more, and you are correct. Welcome to the debut show of Real Talk in the 405. I'm your host, Michael, and as always, it is a pleasure talking sports with you on this beautiful day. Kind of chilly here in Oklahoma City, but definitely not too shabby for January, I would imagine, as we finish out the first month of 2021. Wow. There you have it. We're getting close to finish out the first month of 21, but you look at it, and like I said, the big news, if you want to call it big news, the Air Raid Attack podcast has changed its name. How the show will be operated is going to be a little bit different. Getting the final touches on how that's going to be looking like for future shows, hopefully here in the next week or two. We'll get all that finalized and done. So, again, welcome to the Real Talk in the 405. I'm your host, Michael. Follow the show on Twitter at Real Talk 405 Pod. At Real Talk 405 Pod. I'm working with the platforms to make sure everything's updated. But subscribe on iTunes. I mean, you're going to look it up at Air Raid Attack Podcast. I don't know if that will continue, obviously, with the platform that I use with Anchor. I don't know how that's going to work, but like I said, the change process is all going to be brand new. So we're gonna work things out. But in the meantime, I got a little. So here's the deal. While you search the Real Talk 405 Pod on Twitter, go ahead and Twitter search the Unhinged Sports Network. And if you can find my Twitter, the Unhinged Sports Network Twitter handle is actually in the bio. And while you are in the bio, go ahead and, I know it's, we're getting close to the end of the month, but tax season's right around the corner. Super Bowl's right around the corner. What is it, 55, I think, this year? The Super Bowl's right around the corner. So check out Fanatics. The link's in the bio. Grab you, your dad, your brother, your girlfriend, your wife, whoever, some amazing sports gear. Whether it's Corey Kluber's New Jersey with the Yankees, whether it's, let's go Peyton Manning. Doesn't matter if it's with the Colts, with the Broncos. Get yourself an Aaron Rodgers jersey, Tampa Bay Bucks, Tom Brady's jersey. If you want to go old school, let's go Patriots. I don't care. Go Patrick Mahomes. I know all you Chiefs Kingdom people. But what about Bills Mafia? I know I've heard Bills Mafia fans are about the most diehard fans in the league. They love throwing people through tables, which is kind of cool in my opinion. Go get you a Josh Allen or a Stephon Diggs. at Oliver. Hats, anything you want, I'm sure it's on there. Go find it. While you're at it, I'm going to even help you save money. Fubo TV. Fubo TV. The link and all that stuff is also on the bio as well. Check them out. If you don't like how your current cable company is, hey, I'm here to save you money because trust me, I'm in the process of renovate or having 3 major house projects I gotta work out. So I get the saving money part. So if you don't like your current cable provider, check out Fubo TV. Fubo, Fubo TV. Colorcast. If you have an iOS phone, check them out. It's all that more information is going to come out here within the next week or two, but definitely give them a check. At least download it. At least you be prepared. At least be prepared. But anyway, enough. Again, like I said, go get you some gear on Fanatics. Go check out Fubo TV and download the Colorcast app if you're on the iOS, which is, if you don't know what iOS is, it's the iPhone. So the iPhone operating system, go for it, and we will go from there. But in the meantime, we got some stuff to talk. I would imagine so. We got some stuff to talk about. Shout out to 4th and 20 podcast. It's gonna be like a random show, but kind of cool. Shout out to them. Just got a follow from them on Twitter. 4th and 20 podcast. Check them out. Again, follow the show on Twitter. Real Talk 405 Pod. POD, like the Tide Pods. Like everybody, what was it, last year or 2019? This is why I need a co-host. I need some other feedback, conversation. But anyway, go for it. Follow the show on Twitter. Hashtag, for now, Real Talk in the 405 Podcast. It's probably going to change. But anyway, we will go with that for the time being. But recap, the NFL Divisional Playoffs came and gone, and actually was pretty darn good. It was a pretty good week. If you watched any football, of course, I watched it mainly on Sunday. I didn't really watch much of Saturday's games. Nothing really attracted me per se. I was really more interested. I was really more interested in what Tom Brady did against Drew Brees. I knew the Rams on Saturday wasn't going to be much. I thought the Ravens, but once Lamar Jackson went out for the rest of the game, that kind of sealed the deal for Baltimore. Again, Buffalo didn't look that great, I didn't think in the beginning. But hey, question is, Lamar Jackson, is he their franchise quarterback? Of course. Would I sign him long term? I personally wouldn't yet. But we'll see when that time comes. So if you didn't watch any football, which you missed quite a bit, at least Sunday's games I thought was better than Saturday's games in my opinion. But the Packers defeated the Los Angeles Rams 32-18. Green Bay now 7-1 all time in home playoff games on Saturdays. So are you stat people that you love stats? There you go. That's your first stat I'm going to give you. But I thought overall Green Bay really did well. Aaron Rodgers, MVP-like game, threw for a 296, couple of touchdowns. I thought the running game was pretty spot on with Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams and even A.J. Dillon. Those three guys kind of getting the coursework, if you will. Of course, Aaron Jones and Jamal Williams practically balancing out the coursework in regards to the running game. I thought when you look at the receivers, Allen Lazard, Lazard. Of course, I think he's the rookie out of Iowa State. I thought he had a phenomenal game. 4 catches, 96 yards. I think he was targeted, 8 times, so practically 50% catch rate, if you will. A touchdown. Of course, Devontae Adams had a great great game as well. Overall, congrats to Green Bay. The Bills goes to now 12-3 in the home playoff games in team history, beating Baltimore 17-3. Now, here's when things got interesting on Sunday. Your first game was the Chiefs and the Browns. The Brownies from Cleveland. Of course, the third straight year now, Kansas City is going to host the AFC Championship game. They're 1-1 during that span. But you look at the game, and here's where things get interesting. Of course, Patrick Mahomes goes down due to concussion protocol. Kansas City early going, lights out. Of course, Cleveland fumbles near the goal line. If it wasn't exactly on the goal line, a lot of change momentum from there. Of course, again, then Baker gets going really in the second half. Chad Henne goes in. He was 6 for 8, but, the Browns come in. The Browns come down. I give Cleveland credit. They showed up, shut out a lot of haters, a lot of noise, doubters, if you will. If they can continue, keep the players they got now, I don't know what they're going to do with Odell. That one, of course, we'll see. Whether we see him get dealt on trade night, whether we get dealt on anything like that, we'll see. But the Chiefs, as far as I'm hearing, Patrick Mahomes is still in protocol. Now, what does that look like for Sunday? I don't know. So we'll see how that pans out for Mahomes. It's going to hurt if Chad Henne starts. If Mahomes can't go, you're going to bank on a lot of – you're going to bank. But, hey, I thought Chad Henne came in and did what he had to do. Was pretty much hold on to the ball at that point. And then, of course, a nightcap. The Bucs beat the Saints in what appears to be Drew Brees' final season in the NFL. And it's the first win in divisional round for Tampa Bay since 2002. And that year they won the Super Bowl. So, if you're a Bucs fan out there listening, whether you're in Tampa or across the world or in the United States, that's some hope. I mean, the last time you guys won the divisional round game was in 2002, and you guys won the Super Bowl, beating the what? Who they beat? Baltimore? No, Oakland. The Oakland Raiders. So anyway, there you have it. Recap of that. Of course, I loved seeing the end, the post game, practically Brees out there with his wife and kids throwing the football, kind of soaking in his final moments, if you will, on the field. Well, like I said, whether or not that's it, all fingers point next. All fingers point that he's going to be out. So, that he's going to retire. But not official. I mean, anything's possible. But at, 42? I would say safe bet. So, what do we look like? Well, you got the first postseason meeting ever between Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. Of course, Tom Brady, in my opinion, first ballot Hall of Fame. Aaron Rodgers, you can probably float that as well. It's going to be interesting. You got the fifth-ranked team offense. You got the fifth-ranked offensive team in the league in the Packers. Seventh for the Bucs. Defense, both are top 10 teams in the league. Passing game, top 10 team, both. Of course, Tampa's number 2. The Packers are a lot better running game than Tampa Bay is. It's really going to be interesting due to the fact that you date back to October 18th. The Buccaneers routed Green Bay 38-10. That was, I believe that was in Tampa, but could we see a repeat of that? Could we? Will the trend continue? Well, why are you talking about the trend? Well, Tampa Bay teams to defeat a team, if you will, by 20 points, and this is courtesy of NFL.com. Teams to defeat a team by 20 points in the regular season and then face them in the conference championship game are 13-3 in rematches, 4 in the last 10 seasons. Got that side on you. And then the final one before we end our first break. Buffalo and Kansas City. Of course, it's Buffalo's first AFC Championship appearance since 1993. This is Kansas City's third appearance in the last 3 years. I'm actually gonna watch this one. Top 2 teams in the league offensively. Top three. Both teams are in the top 3 in passing. Kansas City runs it a little bit better, not by much, but they're a better running game than Buffalo. Buffalo is defensively a little bit better, in my opinion, than Kansas City. Last time these two teams met was earlier in the year this season on October 19th. Kansas City won 26-17. I'm really, really, absolutely looking forward towards this game. Can Josh Allen keep the winning streak? Can Josh Allen keep the momentum? They've won now 8 games in a row. If you even include the playoffs, it's tied the second longest streak in franchise history. Then you look at Kansas City. That the Chiefs' last 8 games have been by 6 points or fewer, including the playoffs. It's the longest streak and also in NFL history. Josh Allen, of course, in Week 6 against Kansas City, fewest yards passed and the lowest completion percentage in the game all season long. The Chiefs have now scored 22 points or fewer in the 3 straight games, including the playoffs. It's the longest streak since 2017. And the Bills are 4-2 in franchise history. In the AFC/AFL championship games, they've won that 4 straight. And here's a strange but true fact. Travis Kelce has fewer than 70 receiving yards in each of their 4 career games versus Buffalo. Courtesy of those of that stats to NFL.com. So what's my take? Well, I think we're going to see a Green Bay, and I think we're going to see a Green Bay Kansas City game for Super Bowl 55, I believe. You got the experience that's been, both quarterbacks of Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady have been there, done that. Tom Brady trying to win his first NFC championship. Of course, he's won God amount of AFC championship rings. Not for sure what the weather's going to be in Lambeau. Green Bay's really rolling. Tampa's really rolling. That's going to be a good game. You look at Tampa, I think Gronk can really play a factor. Mike Evans, Fournette, the list goes on and on. Goodwin, I believe, can go on and on. Defensively, I think Tampa's going to be probably slight edge. Kansas City, Buffalo. I think this goes down to the wire. I think it's definitely less than 7 points that this game's going to be won by. The key for Kansas City, assuming that Mahomes plays, is continue to play. Kansas City ball. We know what Tyreek can do. We know what Travis Kelce can do. We obviously know what Mahomes can do. Damian Williams, we know what he can do. The list goes on and on. Buffalo, now it's the experience. Patrick Mahomes has been there. He's done that. This is his third AFC championship game. He's 1-1. Could have been 2-0, but hey, still 1-1. But man, Buffalo's offensive is a good one. I think Kansas City wins, as much as I hate saying that. But there you have it. My prediction: Kansas City, Green Bay, Super Bowl 55. Speaking of Super Bowl 55, before we take our first break, we got pretty exciting news. A good buddy of mine, David, will be joining me next week as a guest on the show. We'll be talking, Super Bowl. We'll give our predictions on that. I'm sure we'll probably talk some Thunder. Probably got some baseball in, and whatever he chooses to go from there. So let's round this out. You got it. Hey, let's round this season out. Get to the off season here shortly. George Paton named the Denver Broncos general manager. If you missed it, I love the hire. He's got some. He's got a lot of questions for Denver. What do you do? What do you do for the quarterback position? He came out and said, "Hey, we can, what's best way?" He worded as Drew Brees, Drew Lock can develop. Now, is that going to be? Is Drew? We'll see. We'll see what he can do. Does he go quarterback in the draft? Probably at the 9 spot or 10 spot. Boy. Well, obviously Trevor's not going to be there. Justin Fields ain't going to be there. Trey Lance, I don't know if he'll be there. I like the kid. Micah Parsons, I think, at the inside linebacker position, you're really going to be, that's probably the Denver's best option. Especially with an aging Vaughn, now who's in legal trouble. Bradley Chubb, one of the best up-and-coming ends in the league. Hopefully they can sign Justin Simmons, which that's another issue that he's going to have to figure out. So, what should Denver do? Well, in my opinion, George Paton's first thing is going to figure out Justin Simmons. What are they going to do with Justin Simmons? Of course, he's a third-round pick in the 2016 draft. He's one of the stellar players in this Denver secondary. Obviously, a tremendous guy in the community. Nomination of the Walter Payton Man of the Year award now for, I believe, 2 years in a row. Like I said, he loves and supports the Denver community. I think his impact on the field, I think his impact off the field is one that you can't replace. What else is there to say about him? He got 16 career interceptions, humongous high IQ play, ball skills. He brings stability to the defense, of course, with turnovers. In my opinion, if I'm George Paton, hey, Justin Simmons has got to be number one on that list as a must. Definitely as a must. Contract-wise, I think it's safe to say that you can probably put him at the probably upwards of $15 million per year. I think that you can easily make him the highest paid safety in the league. Will we see that? We'll see. But definitely Justin Simmons, in my opinion, is a must. Is a absolute must for George Paton to take care of. Number two, not many people I don't think would probably put this on there, but Shelby Harris. Humongous anchor on the defensive line. Of course, if you look at his career, he's been cut numerous times by the Raiders, the Jets. I think he even had a short stint with the Cowboys. But he came on with Denver. Practically, he signed what was signed as what they would call a reserve or a future contract. And because of that, he's probably, in my opinion, and I'm going to be a little biased, of course, but I think he's definitely considered one of the, or has become one of the premier interior defensive linemen in the league. I mean, why you look at his stats in the 4 years he was with Denver, Shelby's had 15 and a half, he's been averaging 15 and a half sacks, 22 tackles for a loss, 23 pass defended. And that's courtesy of the stat of Pro Football Reference. You look at Harris, he's, in my opinion, a do-it-all player. He's a vital, and I mean vital, part of their pass rush. 2020, Harris tested a free agent. But, of course, he returned to Denver. What many people considered a prove-it deal. Well, now he's back to being a free agent, and he's definitely going to have offers. And, of course, what will Denver counter? You look at the draft, and I don't know if they'll go D lineman first, but, I mean, you got a lot of players. You can probably go 2, 3, 4 rounds down the road. Justin Simmons would be definitely the big-time target, of course, for Denver to try to re-sign. I think after that, I think you immediately try to work something out with Shelby Harris. Average salary? Well, I don't know what the market value is for a defensive lineman. I think he goes. I think he'll probably sign with what I would consider a slightly below market value, kind of like the home run discount, if you will. You could easily go 3 years for 8, 3 years for 7, I think. I think a lot of it is going to be his incentives, which if you get incentives, you can easily boost that probably to, I don't know, roughly 10, 11, no more, max 12, I'm guessing. So definitely Shelby Harris going number 2. Here's the third one, what they would consider must for George is going to be Will Parks. Me personally, I probably wouldn't, but he's come in. Of course, he was drafted in the 6th round by Denver. He was more of a special teams player. Of course, Denver chose to let Will Parks walk the first time. He was, of course, signed by Philadelphia and released by Philly during the 2020 season. I thought he played pretty strong to finish out the year. Parks, of course, now is a free agent. So, what do you think? I think that they may do with Will Parks? Well, find out here in a bit. We'll go to a commercial break. Let's find a great. If you are in need of a cleaning for your storm shelter, check out these guys from Storm Check. We'll be back on the. Hey guys, it's Michael from the Real Talk in the 405 podcast. Let me talk to you for just a few seconds. Do I have your attention? Let's go. If you know me, I love me some local businesses, and I highly recommend Storm Check. Because let's be honest, we are all terrified to look and see what's in our storm shelter to get ready for spring season. When the tornado sirens sound, do you feel prepared to spend the night in your shelter? Allow us and our team of military veterans to put your mind at ease with our services. Check them out at stormcheck.team. Let them know Michael from the Real Talk and the 405 podcast sent you their way. Again, it's stormcheck.team for more information. And we're back. So kind of going back, Will Parks, I think that they could easily work something out, maybe potentially be Kareem Jackson's potential replacement. I think honestly, walk, in my opinion. I think they may let him walk and see what he can get elsewhere. Tim Patrick, I really like Tim Patrick. You look at it, he's an undrafted free agent out of Utah, of course. Again, just like Shelby Harris, goes through a reserve or a future contract with Denver, of course. Early in the 2019, he suffered an injury, came out and finished that season pretty decent and pretty strong. He showed his value. I think Patrick did this year, starting as practically as a value as a starting receiver in the league. Do I think that Denver signs him? I think they may see what they can get first. I still say if Devontae Smith, the Heisman Trophy winner from Alabama, if he's still there at number 9, number 10, wherever we're at, I think I'll still go that route. You definitely would upgrade, especially speed-wise, talent-wise, I would imagine, to an extent. Of course, he can pair back up with Jerry Jeudy. Now you talk about speedsters galore. I think he returns. I don't see Tim going anywhere. I don't know what the pay would be for him. You could easily see them tagging him. I don't see Tim Patrick leaving Mile High City. Last but not least is a very interesting one. The Colorado kid, and if you know who I'm talking about, it's Philip Lindsay, the undrafted free agent, the undrafted running back out of Colorado. It's going to be interesting. He's been known as one of the Broncos' most explosive receivers from a struggling offensive line. Lindsay struggled, of course, throughout the 2020 season to stay healthy. Of course, once Melvin Gordon got signed during the offseason prior to 2020, of course, he lost some touches from there, which was expected. This year, he's a restricted free agent. Will the Broncos pay up? We'll see. It's going to be interesting because I got reports that Lindsey's party is going to be is practically Lindsey's. Philip Lindsey's side is pretty much is unhappy with his role in Denver, just for the simple fact of when Melvin Gordon came in. Of course, we all want to win. Let's be honest. We all want to win. Denver hasn't won in quite some time, and you look at Philip, and is he willing to negotiate? If not, I could easily see him with a team that can contend. My prediction, I think Philip Lindsey's done. I don't see him coming back in Denver as much as I think some people do. I think you're going to have to, because let's be honest, Melvin Gordon's is aging, but you still got 1 year left on his contract. He played better almost towards the end than he did in the beginning. Could Lindsey stay 1 more year? I think he could. To tag him, at least finished out his rookie contract. I don't know if they'll let him walk. And again, it depends on what George. People have to remember. And here's the deal. Here's the deal. You got George Paton, the new general manager, just like Drew Lock, and I think number 5 comes at Drew Lock. You got these players that was signed and drafted by John Elway. When you, just like any normal 9-to-5 job, when you got a new boss in town, depends on the circumstance. They may keep you. Usually, and I've been in some cases where they usually just clean house, period. And here's where I go with this. Is number 5 is Drew Lock. What do I think what they will do with Drew Lock? We don't know. He's a toss-up. You look at Drew, yes, I'm still on the Drew Lock bandwagon, if there's such a thing. But I still think he can develop. I still think he's the guy for Denver. The team rallies around him. I know there was some frustration last year, which, when you don't win, there's going to be frustration regardless. But you look at it and say, hey, interesting. What do we do? Denver's in this position. Now, you have a lot of options here. Supposedly, Deshaun Watson wants to be out. He's done with Houston. He wants to go. Now, if you're Denver, do you jump on that trade? Are you one of the 4 teams that will at least listen to see what the asking price is? I would probably be willing to give up 2022 first-round pick. I really would love for us to keep that 21 first-round pick. But if that involves getting Deshaun Watson, well, so be it. Do I think Devontae Smith might be there at 9? Might be there when Denver gets theirs? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Do you keep Drew? Do you go corner? Do you go inside linebacker? Do you go quarterback? Trey Lance, kid out of North Dakota State. I'm sure he'll be there. Do you draft him and be like a Jalen Hurts thing in Philadelphia when Doug Peterson drafted Jalen Hurts out of Oklahoma last year? And practically do a Carson Wentz. I'm not saying go bench him. Bench Drew, just like how it took place. But do you go that route? I think. Excuse me. I think if you give Drew Lock a legit competition, you'll either see if he'll make it or he'll break it. I'm not saying Trey Lance is a guy either, but Denver, George Paton, long story short, George is going to realize that, hey, my hands are washed of this. I have no loyalty to Drew. I got to do what's best for the Denver Broncos and for this organization. And I get that the whole freaking ownership thing is up in arms and it's a fiasco. And, John Elway's contract's up after the end of this year. Joe Ellis' contract is up to the end of this year. Could you see the new ownership after this season come in? Assuming all that gets taken care of, will Joe and John, are they done in Denver after this year? Denver, the future is still bright for Denver. I'm excited for this organization's future. The question to that success for the future is going to be your quarterback. Whether it is Deshaun Watson, whether it is Drew Lock or Trey Lance or whoever, Mac Jones, if you want to go third or fourth round with him from Alabama. I don't see them unless George has something up that we don't know. I don't see them getting Justin. I don't see them getting Trevor. The question is, and I'll end it with this, is what do you mean legit? The future really is now on the line. You don't draft a quarterback or you don't make a move for a quarterback in the first round or via the trade Watson, for example. Then obviously George is like, hey, one more year at least with Drew. We're going to see what this kid can do. But I've told a good buddy of mine who's a Bills fan is this. We haven't seen Drew for 17 games. Well, Michael, they played 16. They now added an additional 17th game. It's Detroit, and it's going to take place next year. But here's the deal. So for 16 games, now 17. You have a 17-game week schedule. I haven't seen Drew. We haven't seen Drew on all 16/17 games. He's either been out with an injury or he has struggled or he's played decent. There's a few games he's done well. Teams that win are teams that can, of course, they struggle. And I think the Drew Lock to Josh Allen comparison, I see it, but I don't think it's a fair adjustment. I think Josh Allen's a little bit more talented than Drew Lock is, but that's why we live in this great country. We have our own opinions. So do I think that they go quarterback? It's hard to tell. It really is. It's absolutely hard to tell what Denver does. But I'm excited. I'm stoked. And I look forward to what is going on. We are live on Twitter, so that is correct. We're actually doing a show right now, but we're going to finish out the final about 18 minutes or so left and we'll go on Twitter live. So on Twitter, again, if there is any questions out there, definitely tweet them below down there somewhere to finish out the show. But again, like I said, George Paton, he has no loyalty to Drew Lock. People have to realize this. Do I think that Drew Lock's days are in Denver are numbered? Easily could be. Vic Fangio's days could be numbered. Like I said, John Elway, Joe Ellis, contracts up after the end of this year. You're going to have a lot of changes. You got a lot of changes going on. But we'll be right back. You are listening to the Real Talk in the 4-5 podcast here on the Unhinged Sports Network.
What's going on, everyone? Dave from Fan Futsal here. What is Fan Futsal, you might be wondering? Well, Fan Futsal is a simplified fantasy soccer game. In Fan Futsal, you select 5 clubs instead of 8 to 11 individual players for your fantasy lineups. Our fantasy scoring is based on match scores, not individual player stats, so it's a lot easier to follow. It's free to sign up and super easy to set lineups, so to learn more and to get started playing a simplified fantasy soccer game, go to fanfutsal, fanfutsal.com.
And the final segment of the debut of Real Talk in the 4-5 podcast is the Major League Baseball. Of course, the New York Yankees. You look at Brantley, of course. That's a weird deal. Reports came out that he signed with Toronto and he was going to Toronto, and of course, George Springer, massive deal with the Blue Jays. My personal opinion was, wow, these guys literally got loaded pretty quick in the outfield. And so the reports said that it wasn't true. Brantley eventually resigns, I should say, with the Houston Astros. Reports early in the year or earlier in the week. And, of course, I'm going to get my Yankees magazine subscription ready to go for the year. I'm going to get that done here in a bit, but after the show. But here's the deal. The Yankees were highly interested, of course, in Reds pitcher Luis Castillo. Rightfully so. That's the Reds' practically their gym. Of course, they made good with DJ LeMahieu, re-signing him. Huge move that could be what I call it. It was a low risk with a high reward ceiling for Corey Kluber, 1 year, $11 million. Of course, Tanaka looking to go back to Japan. James Paxton, of course, he's a free agent. Not for sure if Luis Severino is going to, he's coming off a Tommy John injury. I love the depth in our pitching. Garcia, I thought showed some promise last year. Clark Smith, I'm really high on. I think we'll see him. I think he will fight for a position on the rotation. Jordan Montgomery, I think, can definitely be in the mix of things in the rotation. But you look at Castillo, and it seemed like just whispers, talk died down. Supposedly, both teams then regained interest in the trades. However, it was Gleyber Torres. That was the piece that the Reds were asking for. Of course, a piece that they really highly need is a shortstop. And that was Brian Cashman's "we're done talking for right now" stage. If you think about it, if you really want to think about it, moving Gleyber for Luis is like likely a non-starter at this point. if you think of pure value, if you will. I read something along the lines that that practically both project as roughly as 4-win players in 2021. Put it lightly. According to Fangraph's calculations, is where that quote came from. Glaber's definitely younger. He's further from free agency. Plays less a risky position. If you really want to think about it, I think the Reds need to send their top prospects back to New York in order to get Glaber. And the Yankees, in my opinion, has one of the best farm systems, in which at one point in time they were one of the worst, but I love what they've done. And then we'll talk next week. I'm going to hope to do a 2-week podcast next week and get a good buddy of mine that is a diehard Major League Baseball fan. And I mean, you will absolutely love having him and hearing his knowledge about not just his New York Mets, but baseball in general. We'll talk Mets, we'll talk Yankees, we'll talk what in the world happened with Brantley. Thoughts on George Springer going to the Blue Jays. I thought he could go to the Mets, but we'll talk that out at a later time. Now, question of the day. Find us on Twitter at RealTalk405Pod. I'll tweet it out, hashtag it to join in. It's going to be hashtag RealTalk405Podcast. And the question is like this. It's going to go as is. Could the New York Yankees trade for Luis Castillo with just prospects? I'm not asking top prospects. I'm just saying prospects in general. Eliminate Gleyber Torres. Because when you look at it, the farm system the Yankees still has talent in the farm system. It's even if it's thin, they got enough that they can do a blockbuster on its own. Who would you have? Question of the day here on the podcast. Tweet back at me with your answers, with your thoughts at RealTalk405Pod, hashtag RealTalk405Pod. Question of the day, can the Yankees still pull the blockbuster deal for Luis Castillo to the Reds with just Yankee prospects? If so, who? If you're not familiar with it, with their prospects, definitely go to the Yankees.com. You can go to, I think it's the top 30 in regards to prospects. Go to the roster, I think is where you go to, and you'll find it. It's an amazing, they've done an amazing job of, the league has done an amazing job of keeping that up to date. But my answer is yes, if you want to know my answer. I think any decent farm system can definitely grab a good player. But the key is, are you willing to part a large amount of prospects? Well, if you do long part, no, the Yankees don't have it. So let's look at the particulars to finish out the show. Luis's value is a little difficult, if you will. And this is, I read some of this is from Pinstripe Alley. Great article, broke it down points by point. But you look at it, it's a little difficult to pin down. He's short of 90 starts. He's done phenomenal of the 44 of those starts. He's 10.9 K over 9 innings span. He's 28. He's still 3 years away from free agency. Probably definitely the 20 or so best starters in the game. It's an interesting trade nonetheless, to try to see if they would be willing to part ways. But I think the Yankees are still in good position. I still think they're in good position to be competitive in the AL East, especially with the talent they got coming in, especially through the minor leagues. If you don't remember, Davia Garcia, who I'm high on, of course, Jason Dominguez. I think he's 16 or 17 years old. Maybe he might be 18 by now. Who knows? Don't forget Domingo Germán coming off his suspension. So to answer your question, the Yankees are probably going to give at least 4, maybe 6 of their top prospects to get the deal done. So let us know, do you think the Yankees can get the deal done for Luis Castillo from the Reds? If so, who? And who would you give up? And in theory, who would you also ask in return to the Reds, from the Reds to the Bronx? Let us know on Twitter, at me, Real Talk 45 Pod, hashtag for Real Talk 45 Pod. And follow me on my personal Twitter, On Air with Mike. That's the show for today. It's been a pleasure debuting the Real Talk and the 4-5 podcast. As always, subscribe on iTunes, Google, all that good stuff. Listen to us on the Unhinged Sports Network. Not just listen to me. Listen to the amazing podcasters from morning to night. Encore shows throughout the week. Listen. It's a good one. You don't want to miss it. Listen to everyone else as well, and you will not be disappointed. And follow them all on Twitter. Until then, you guys take care. Make sure to take care of one another, and I will see you guys next week. Until then, stay safe.